So this is my very young medlar tree, which I will be pruning in the spring, so it won't be uneven in height, and so it will start bushing out some more. I'll be taking this branch down to somewhere around here, and this tall one will come down somewhere around here, and we'll have it flesh out a bushier growth. So if you're not familiar with a medlar tree, what is it? Well, it's a tree that I couldn't help but buy when I read the description. The fruit, which you blet first, and we'll get to bletting in a minute, but it is said to have the taste of applesauce with a cinnamon spicy taste to it, and the texture of a dried date, real chewy, sort of actually a combination of mushy and chewy. So you actually wait till after a frost or two before you take it off the tree, and that's when it's ripe. But bletting means you want it to actually go past ripening. So you want it to, after you take it off, to store it in a cool place for several weeks and let the fruit get to a soft stage, some would say almost to the first point of decay. And then you spoon the flesh out, the soft mushy flesh. And it supposedly is delicious from everything I've read, and I'm keen to try it. It makes great preserves as well as eating it fresh, and that's something else I want to start trying, is making preserves. But what am I gonna do in this area where my medlar tree is? Something I've been planning for months, but over the heat of the summer I put off. Let me show you. So the tree is situated in this spot here by this little short fence, which, yes, you may have noticed when I was showing you the tree. I've got one of these, no, these two pieces of wood, and there's a name for this, I forget what it's called, but they are warped, obviously. So I gotta get them down. Yeah, that bugs me, but I've been too busy to pay any attention to it, really. Anyway, it's in this spot. On the right side of it, in addition to this really weird door, the top half of which has this really retro geometric design that I don't like at all, so that's why the door's been sitting there for 3 years, I think. Aside from the door, that's got one of my compost piles behind it, and you can see that the corner here borders one of my olive orchards, and my chickens are out there. But right here we've got 7 of these cement blocks. Now, they're not the cinder ones, these are just cement blocks, and you probably have seen on Pinterest or Instagram pictures of crazy fun things that people do with these, and I've seen a few of those myself, and I've seen one that I want to incorporate right here around the medlar tree. And it's going to have flowers planted in it. That's a little hint of what it's going to look like. And I actually have a whole bunch of flower bulbs that I need to plant over the next 1 to 3 weeks, and I'll have some filler flowers too. But let's get going and see what it looks like. By the way, in case I like it, I have a bunch more cement blocks over here. Yeah, as well as an old broken down fence I have to get rid of, some wood chip piles, and more olive trees. Oh look, the sun's coming out. It's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit here, which is about 7 degrees Celsius. So, you know, it's brisk, but it's not too cold. And this is what our winters are pretty much like. It does get down into the 30s Fahrenheit at night, but you know, I'm all bundled up here. I've got my little fingerless gloves on, and I'm ready to get to work. So the first thing I've got to do is put cardboard down, which I just did, and that is going to stop the weeds from growing up. I'm going to put wood chips on top of this, and that will look good, and it will also, as a mulch, keep the weeds from growing up. In addition, of course, the wood chip mulch will help insulate the tree from the cold and also keep the water moisture retained much better than without a mulch. What is this? Is this more tape? Nope, it's not, just paper. I got all the tape off. I don't like to leave tape on. And now I'm gonna go get the wood chips. Okay, so I'm over here by one of my wood chip piles, and lots of leaves. These come from some of my large non-fruiting mulberry trees. And these leaves are a wonderful snack for our sheep and a wonderful mulch for compost piles or garden beds. So that's why they're not raked up yet. Now, this particular wood chip pile is an arborist wood chip pile, and all that means when someone says that is that the chips are not just big chunks of wood, they have actually had the whole tree chipped together. So this particular pile Came from some arborists who dumped it here for me for free because it costs them to dump it at other places. And it came from one of the fires that we had around here. We're sort of in the center of all the fires that happen here in Northern California so far anyway. And all these huge wildfires have been within 1 to 2.5 hours from us in all directions. And this came from one of those, from the Paradise Fire actually 2 years ago. And I had several piles and I'm down to my last pile, about halfway through it. This pile over here is actually from my own olive tree pruning. So I've chipped this myself, or had someone help me with it. And so it too is a mixture of leaves and twigs, and as well as the bigger branches chipped up. And that is what's really great for your soil and your plants, because it feeds the soil, enriches it, and creates great structure for the soil. So I'm going to fill up my wheelbarrow here and take it back over to my project area. Okay, looks like I'm gonna need 4 or 5 loads. Hey guys, so I think actually I just need 1 more load, but I'm gonna spread this stuff out with a pitchfork and see. Also, it is hot. I know it's still 45, but a little work and I do not need all of this. Much as I thought my little Minnesota Vikings jacket was cute, because we are lifelong Minnesota Viking fans here, it's coming off. Now, I don't want to put the wood chips right up against that trunk. That would be very bad for the tree. So I've got a wire cage around it, keeping the wood chips away from the tree. And I'll probably go back in there and, you know, spread them out just a little farther. They should be a good 5 or 6 inches away from the trunk. Otherwise, you could risk some kind of rot setting in on the trunk. A little more here in the corner. I think this is about done. It's looking really good. We'll see what kind of foundation these wood chips provide for the cement blocks. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but we'll see. Okay, so I've done it, but guess what? I don't like how it's situated. I want it to be so that the open V part is facing outward. And I'm going to do another one on the other side too. So I think I have to move it all. But you would not believe how long that took me to do, by the way. It's so simple, but if there's one thing I am not, it is spatially aware. Now, one thing you've got to be sure of is having the ground level under these. Granted, you could change them later, but that's going to be a whole lot harder to do once you've got soil in them. Now, what I should probably do is put some rocks underneath these, but I don't want to do that because I want the water to be able to drain down into the wood chips. So I'm just going to level the bark. In my experience, if I've got a thick enough layer of bark down, which here I've got about 4 or 5 inches, that really solidifies pretty well as far as creating a stable base. And I can come back later and stick in a chunk of something, you know, or other in the corner of those cement blocks to level it out if I need to. But this way, they'll still have good drainage all the way down. Okay, I think that looks really good, and it's going to look even better when I get some soil and flowers in it. So on these short ones here on the end, I'm putting a little bit of soil in the bottom, actually about halfway up. But I am actually going to put pots in these, just the ones on the two low corners, because there's only about, I didn't measure, but 6 or 7 inches here, and then the bark, and this bark hasn't broken down enough for me to want my flowers to go straight into it. So these two are going to have small pots sitting in the dirt inside of there. You probably won't even see the pot because I will make sure that the rim of it is below the top edge of the cement block, so you won't notice them. And then these I'm filling halfway up with a regular good soil, and then the top half with potting soil. Not a really expensive one, just a generic potting soil. That always works really well for me, probably because I feed with a compost tea I make from my own compost pretty regularly. So the flowers all do well on that. I was going to use this. No, it's easier to use your hands. Sometimes you just got to get dirty. See if I can do this without spilling it everywhere. So I'd like to plant some white alyssum and some lobelia like I have planted here. This is one of my garlic beds. Yeah, they're doing really well in this temperature, and I would like to plant them, but I don't currently have any at the right stage. I have some that have just started growing, but they're not ready to plant out yet. And with weather getting colder, well, probably won't be till spring. So I'm thinking, well, I have lavender because I dug up some lavender seedlings recently. If you watch one of my videos about starting lavender, you'll have seen that, and a lot of those are actually doing really well outdoors, and I think I'm going to transplant 4 of those into my little mini planter project. And like I said, I have a bunch of violas, so I think that's what I'm going to go with for now, and we'll just wait for the bulbs to come in the spring, and maybe at that point I will plant some alyssum and lobelia over there. We'll see how it goes. That area gets good morning sun and filtered afternoon sun, so it's actually a pretty good place, I think, to put some flowers. So we'll go do that now. So clearly the sun has come out, and an hour or 2 has passed, but it didn't really take long to do this project, and I'm pretty pleased. I will show you the finished result in just a moment. But what I decided was to go with my lavender seedlings that I dug out of the ground near my mother lavender plant about 3 weeks ago, I'm guessing. And so they are going in the bottom 4 slots close to the ground in containers. I actually transferred them to a slightly taller, deeper container so they have a little more soil. And then I have these violas, yellow and burgundy, on each side, and those are ones that I started from seed and I've had growing for quite a while. And then what I'm going to put on top are these violas. These are some of my favorites, and these I actually bought at the store on clearance about a week ago, so I'm going to put them in the top, and I think it's going to look really good. So I'm all done. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I will stand and scan the whole corner here so you can see the entire thing in just a sec. I did want to let you know that it was a very inexpensive mini project. Each of the cement blocks was only $2, and I used 12, 6 on each side. For some reason I had it in my head that each corner took 7, but they only took 6 each. So 12 blocks, $2, that was $24 for the total setup for both sides altogether. And then I used 2 smaller bags of potting soil, and those were only about $2.50, $3 each, because I do get a generic kind, so that was very inexpensive. And then most of the flowers that I planted so far are just seedlings that I grew myself, or volunteers that grew here on my property. And the only ones I bought that I've planted so far are the purple and white violas, and those were on clearance for $2.50, so that was a good deal. I am planning to plant some bulbs over the next few weeks, and I will tuck them in and around the violas. And I think I'll stick some tall alliums in with the lavender, because those lavenders will eventually grow big, but not this year. So I'm really happy, and now I'm going to stand up and let you see it all. So this is it. I really am liking the look of this, you know, except for those 2 boards that are warped right there that I need to replace. But the flowers and the pot setup, really liking how that's looking. The lavender and the different violas. Yeah, that just looks really good. And from a distance, so when I drive in my driveway, I see this. And now I'm going to be seeing all the pretty flowers as they bloom, and also all the spring bulbs flowering come April and May and throughout the summer. I'm really happy with how this looks. I think I've said that 5 times. Super easy project. Why don't you give it a try? You know, now that I've done this, I have all these ideas that I could do other projects I want to build with cement blocks. Have you tried to build anything with cement blocks? If so, let me know about it in the comments below. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, maybe you should do it today. That way you'll be able to catch all my videos as they come out, and if you hit the notification bell, you'll even get notified when it happens. And these are videos that share easy gardening ideas like this one. I do my garden tours of my veggie garden, and I also try to give encouraging advice and just thoughts to help on our journey in simple, self-reliant living. Have a great week, everyone. See you next time.